करेंगे।
These are the Rafale fighter jets. The first 5 to be inducted into the Indian Air Force. But their flight from France to India was not free of turbulence. From a long drawn-out selection and procurement process under different governments that itself involved several ups and downs, to becoming a sore point at the 2019 general elections, to being welcomed with a religious mark by the Defence Minister of India. But the fighter jets are now formally a part of India's formidable air arsenal.
राफेल का इंडक्शन गोल्डन एरोस को एक नई चमक देगा। मैं ऐतिहासिक 17 स्क्वाड्रन को विशेष बधाई देना चाहूंगा।
The cloudy skies over Ambala briefly lit up even as the roar of the Indian Air Force's newly acquired possession heralded their arrival. And once more, another religious ritual preempted their formal induction into the IAF's 17th Squadron.
Om Swastai Swastina Indro Shushantri 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 Bhavatu.
The Rafales were seen flying with Indian Air Force Jaguars, Su-30s and indigenous Tejas also joining in for the spectacular proceedings. As soon as the Golden Arrows were formally inducted into the Indian Air Force at the Ambala Air Base in Haryana, they took off again to swing into action in the defense of their new master.
Model has been really busy and in an overdrive to operationalize. Within this time, they have already flown and familiarized with our operational environment and have undergone intense integrated training with our other combat fleets, including firing of advanced weapons. And I expect the Golden Arrows to intimidate and dominate whenever and wherever employed.
Not too far from the Ambala Air Base, on a short notice, the Rafales were sent off to the line of actual control in Ladakh, where the standoff with China had created military tension in the region.
हमारी सीमाओं पर जिस तरह का माहौल हाल के दिनों में बना है, या मैं सीधा कहूं कि बनाया गया है, उनके लिहाज से यह इंडक्शन बहुत ही अहम है। यह अपनी सीमाई सुरक्षा और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता को बनाए रखने के लिए सरकार की कमिटमेंट का भी एक बड़ा उदाहरण प्रस्तुत करता है।
In another significant first, the IAF also announced that these advanced fighter jets hovering over the line of actual control would soon have women piloting them as well. While the Rafales today are part of the Indian Air Force, back in 2011, when India today took a sortie in the fighter aircraft, it was still in competition with other top-class aircrafts vying to join the Indian Air Force.
India today takes you where nobody else has managed to. Directly into the Rafale's cockpit and into the air. In 2011, Not long before the Rafale was officially selected as India's next fighter, following a grueling selection process, I was invited to strap in and experience the 4th generation French jet for myself. For the flight, I needed to get the full lowdown on the advanced jet. Flying me on this warm summer morning at the Yelahanka Air Base in Bengaluru was Sebastian Dupont de Dineshin, an experienced Dassault test pilot with hundreds of hours on the Rafale jet. For this flight, I got to don a French Navy flight suit and boots, all crucial elements to the flying experience, and of course the all-important G-suit, indispensable for combat flying that involves sharp maneuvers. I got a full cockpit briefing on the aircraft, including how to operate major systems, controls, and of course the emergency ejection system in case of any catastrophe in the air. Engines on, and the growl of the Rafale on the tarmac drowns out pretty much all else. Inside the cockpit, however, with helmet on, I can hear barely a rumble. And I remain in direct communication throughout with pilot Sebastian. With full afterburners on, the Rafale roars off the tarmac and rockets into the sky at a steep angle, followed by a sharp turn to the right, demonstrating the aircraft's incredible agility. After a full demonstration of the Rafale sensor and combat systems, it was time to return to base.
That was the Rafale's might in the skies. Its turnaround time is surely quick, true to its name. In French, Rafale means gust. The French-made fighter jet has a wingspan of 10.9 meters. Its length is 15.3 meters. And its height is 5.3 meters. The aircraft has a wing area of 45.7 square meters, and its maximum speed is blazing fast at 2,222 kilometers per hour. A Rafale can carry 9.5 tons of external payload or weapons, and its engines blaze with a maximum thrust of 150 kN. The Rafale has 14 weapon storage stations, and they can be fired in a radius of 1,850 kilometers. It has a fast turnaround, which means that the aircraft can be ready for another sortie right after landing back. This aids uninterrupted combat operations of a fighter unit. Majority of land-borne Air Force fighter jets cannot counter seaborne threats, but the Rafale has the ability to carry and launch anti-ship missiles if need be. And another important feature of the aircraft is its nuclear capability. It has been designed to carry heavy nuclear missiles. So why did the IAF choose the Rafale over its competitors? Let us take a look at how the fighter jet stands up to its peers.
It's always difficult to really compare two fighter aircrafts as different as the Rafale and the F-16 that's operated by Pakistan head to head, because there are so many differences, and it always really comes down to the nature of the engagement and the fight. But if you were to look at it really technically, of course, the Rafale is a bigger fighter. It has two engines. The F-16, of course, is a single engine fighter. As far as hard points are concerned as well, the Rafale is something that leaves the F-16 behind in terms of its combat load, in terms of combat range, combat radius as well, in terms of weaponry and sensors. The Rafale definitely is a superior aircraft. But like I said, when it comes to comparisons, they are always tricky because it's also about the nature of the engagement, the pilot in the cockpit, and how they make the best use of the aircraft they fly.
In 2008, when the Indian Air Force came out with a tender to buy 126 multi-role combat aircraft, the F-16s were also part of the competition along with 5 other aircrafts, all of which lost the battle to the Rafale. But that's not when the journey to procure these fighter aircrafts began. In 2000, a proposal for purchase of 126 MMRCA, medium multi-role combat aircraft, was first mooted by the IAF to the Vajpayee-led NDA government. And the initial request for information was issued the next year after the proposal's acceptance. When the Congress-led UPA government came to power in 2004, the then Defence Minister A.K. Antony gave his clearance for the purchase. After a little delay due to the new defence procurement policy, a tender was issued in 2007, in the same year that IAF celebrated its Platinum Jubilee. 6 aircraft from 6 different companies were shortlisted, one of them to become a part of the Indian Air Force. The shortlisted aircraft were Dassault Aviation's Rafale, multi-manufactured Eurofighter Typhoon, Russian Aircraft Corporation MiG's MiG-35 Fulcrum, Saab International's JAS 39 Gripen, Boeing's FA-18EF Super Hornet, and Lockheed Martin's F-16 in Super Viper. While the technical evaluation of the 6 aircrafts were on, Mukesh Ambani-led Reliance Group decided to try their hand in defence manufacturing, and Reliance Aerospace Technologies was born. But we'll come to that a little later. In 2011, after the evaluations, the IAF shortlisted 2 out of the 6 bidders. In January 2012, Dassault Aviation came up with the lowest bid. Out of the total 126 aircraft, 18 were to be procured in a flyaway condition, and the remaining 108 were to be built by Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. March 2014, after negotiations, a work-share agreement between HAL and Dassault Aviation was signed. Meanwhile, in May 2014, the Modi-led NDA government was voted into power, and the newly minted Finance Minister Arun Jaitley confirmed the purchase of 18 flyaway aircraft and delivery of the rest 108 in 7 years' time. While discussions were underway between HAL, Ministry of Defence and Dassault Aviation, the deal eventually fell through, and a withdrawal was initiated in March 2015 as per Government of India's response later provided to the Supreme Court.
HAL के मैनोवर्स और फ्रेंच कंपनी के मैनोवर्स उसमें एक तालमेल नहीं हो रहा था, वो इशू सॉल्व नहीं हो रहा था, लेकिन और कौन गारंटी देगा वो भी इशू सॉल्व नहीं हो रहा था। आपको भी मालूम है 2012 में तो प्राइस डिस्कवरी हुई थी और अभी 15 में 3 बरस उसके ऊपर केवल नेगोशिएशन चल रहे थे।
While the old deal crash landed, during Prime Minister Modi's visit to France, a new deal for acquisition of 36 direct flyaway aircraft from France was struck.
भारत में फाइटर एयरक्राफ्ट की क्रिटिकल ऑपरेशनल नेसेसिटी का ध्यान में रखते हुए मैंने राष्ट्रपति जी से 36 रफाल जेट्स फ्लाई अवे कंडीशन में जल्द से जल्द दोनों सरकार के समझौतों के माध्यम से खरीदने की बात की है।
The new government-to-government deal was worth 7.87 billion euros or 60,000 crore rupees for the 36 jets, bringing the price of each jet to approximately 1,600 crore rupees. And that's when the jets became a point of contention inside and outside the Indian Parliament.
They were spreading the rumors that this deal is much lower than during our time.
They said they're saving 4,800 crore.
That is what that question answered.
Meanwhile, Dassault signed a contract with Anil Ambani's Reliance Aerospace Technologies as part of its offset contract to invest a part of the Rafale jet procurement deal in India, providing jobs back home.
If we would have signed the 126, we would have worked with HL and with Reliance, because at that time already we were in partnership with Reliance. So it's because the 126 didn't go through, I took the decision to continue with Reliance. And HL, which I know well, they even said in the last few days that they were not interested to be part of offset.
The price factor and the Anil Ambani firm's contract took the focus away from the Indian Air Force and began to shape the narrative surrounding the then upcoming general elections. The seeds of contention were sown during the campaign for the 2017 Gujarat state elections.
जहाज की प्राइस क्या थी? क्या आपकी प्राइस यूपीए वाली प्राइस से ज्यादा थी या कम थी?
The then Congress President Rahul Gandhi kick-started his party's campaign for the state elections with Rafale as one of the primary issues.
The Prime Minister said it was a very good deal. And I agree with him. It was a very good deal. But it was a very good deal for the Prime Minister and his businessman friend.
It also questioned the escalation of per aircraft cost from 715 crore rupees to 1,600 crore rupees. In November 2017, the Congress alleged that procedures were bypassed so that Hindustan Aeronautics Limited could be substituted by Reliance Defence Limited. French President Macron shifted the responsibility of the deal to his previous regime that had been in power in 2015 and indicated that it was for the Indian government to decide whether to reveal the details of the deal or not.
I'm not the one to have negotiated, so I'm very cool about that. I have to say that the negotiation was a win-win approach, because your government made, according to me, a very good negotiation, because it preserved the industrial interests of India.
But what this did not answer was why HAL was dropped. Till April 2015, all earlier negotiations had always had Hindustan Aeronautics Limited as part of the deal. While the campaign couldn't lead Congress Party to victory and the details didn't add up, a PIL was filed in the Supreme Court in March 2018. The PIL sought an independent probe into the Modi government's decision of buying the fighter jets from France and the cost involved. After dismissals, a fresh plea was filed in the Apex Court asking the centre to file details of the deal in a sealed cover. The centre reverted with the details a month after, and the Supreme Court gave the government a clean chit. A review of the decision was sought, but by then the Rafale deal had become one of the major issues of the 2019 Lok Sabha elections.
मुझे ये बताइए 3 दशक हो गए, क्या कारण है देश ने एक भी नेक्स्ट जनरेशन फाइटर प्लेन हमारी सेना के हाथ में नहीं दिया? Not a single in 30 years.
While the election mandate was in the favor of the ruling BJP and the Rafale case was still in Supreme Court, Rahul Gandhi did not budge from his stand.
56 इंच की छाती वाला चौकीदार भाग गया। डिफेंस मिनिस्टर जाता है, फ्रांस जाता है, धूमधाम राफेल हवाई जहाज को लेने के लिए जाता। कभी सुना आपने पहले? कभी हुआ है ना, क्योंकि चुप रहा है। हमने चोरी की है, गिल्ट है तो करना पड़ रहा है।
Meanwhile, India formally took delivery of the first fighter jets, and the defense minister travelled all the way to France to make a statement.
भाइयों और बहनों, दशहरा के दिन जब फ्रांस में पहला रफाल फाइटर जेट भारत को मिला, मैं जरा आपसे पूछना चाहता हूं, जवाब दोगे? रफाल जेट सेना के हाथ में आया, आपको खुशी हुई कि नहीं हुई? आपको आनंद आया कि नहीं आया? लेकिन ये कांग्रेस नेताओं को न जाने क्या हो जाता है।
In October 2019, the Supreme Court dismissed all petitions seeking a review of the deal, and the Modi-led NDA government was once again given a clean chit. The 5 new Rafale jets landed in India. The government ensured that their arrival was celebrated with much fanfare. The fervour for the time being burying further questions about the deal that still seem to remain unanswered.